Hi guys, I thought I would make a slightly different video today. As modelers we all like realism to one degree or another, and so we often like to use references and archive photos in our modelling. And also archive photos can be a great inspiration for dioramas and settings and environments. Now I know you can use Google Images, but sometimes curated collections of images are a bit more useful and they offer a bit more depth and detail when you're looking for a particular subject. So in no particular order, this video is going to have 7 of my favourite sites for modelling, reference and inspiration. So first up is the Imperial War Museum, and their website is a treasure trove of photos relating to British and Commonwealth forces. If you go to search our collection, and then we have all kinds of things, art, books, documents and so on. There are even a few films as well, although a lot of them are not actually digitised, so this will often just be a reference for what's actually held in the archives. But the photographs normally have been digitised. So if we go over here, and then you'll see the format at first, if we explore the collection. It's quite a text-heavy format, lots of information. This is useful if you want a photo from a particular period, but I usually find that this is quite useful here to go to the image view, get a few more thumbnails on the screen. And one of the things I really like about this, let's click on this photo here. We scroll down, almost every photo here has a little card that goes with it, which is the back of the photo I presume, and it tells us about the circumstances. So what we've got here, Sherman tanks and armoured vehicles, where are we, 2nd of August 1944. So it helps you get some context of what's around. It's really useful to see how the vehicles looked in terms of stowage and so on. Great inspiration for dioramas, and of course you can search as well. Let's search for Lancaster. And again we've got a variety of images here. Some of these I'm not quite sure why they're related to Lancaster, but we might find out if we click on them. Ah yeah, of course, York and Lancaster Regiment. Yeah. But again, this little scene here, for example, that's great as a reference for a diorama, just the style of the buildings, what looks like damage here to the buildings, the roads themselves, camouflage on the soldiers' helmets here. Really, really useful material. As I say, if you go back to the main menu, you can also view images, films, sound, but a lot of the sounds in the films haven't actually been digitized yet. And second we have the Australian War Memorial, and their collection is under the shop menu here. If we go shop and then images, film and sound, and then the easiest thing again is to go to start searching the collection. So if we think of something Australian, let's think of Matildas. And you will see down here we have a variety of resources. I'm going to go to all photographs. Got some great examples of photos here. Occasionally you see here there aren't thumbnails and there aren't images available, but most of the time there are. Let's scroll down here and see what we've got. So we've got here a Matilda frog or flamethrower arriving by barge. And some nice period photos there. Often there's a short description here talking about the location, the date, or some other little details which might be important. And I found a lot of these photos here are often not available on other sites, so it's great to search this archive. A lot of items also have film resources available as well, so if we go to view all films, and unlike the Imperial War Museum archive, quite often these are downloadable. So let's look here at Attack on Cape Moem. And sure enough, here we have a video of the attack on Cape Moem. You can download them here. You'll also find sound for certain search terms. So for example, if you've seen my video of the HK Lancaster, this is where I got my sound from. So if I scroll down here to view all sounds, we have here all kinds of useful stuff. Interviews with crews of Lancasters, air crews, pilots and so on. Down here, this is the raid on Berlin. This is the soundtrack I used for the HK Lancaster reveal. If you scroll down, you can find it down here.
Hello, Skipper. Hello, Navigator. Half a minute to go. Okay, thanks for reminding. Okay, keep weaving, Ken. There's quite a lot of nice stuff coming up as well, falling off a bit low.
And again, all of those resources are downloadable. Sometimes you'll also find there's related artwork. So here, for example, for the Lancaster, you'll see here there's no thumbnails, there's no downloadable images for these. But this one there is, Lancasters in the making. So this is a British wartime poster by the looks of it. Lancaster assembly lines. This looks like some artwork, painting. So lots of great inspiration here. A really, really good site and well worth checking out. Next up is a YouTube channel called Mark Felton Productions. Mark Felton's a well-known historian, and his videos cover a huge number of historical events and stories, many of which are not so well known. So for example here, America's war against Switzerland. This is a really interesting video about how Allied air crews used to sometimes overfly Switzerland on their way to and from targets in Europe, and how that used to sometimes cause combat basically between Swiss aircraft and the Allies. So a part of the war perhaps that isn't very well known, but would make maybe an interesting aircraft diorama. And if we scroll down, we can see quite a few lesser known stories. Here's some good inspiration, for example, if we were looking to build maybe some kind of British tank but in captured German colours, Rommel's British Panzers. Down here's another good example, Polish Panthers, a story of how some German Panther tanks were captured by the Polish in Warsaw. Again, something that you probably don't see in a lot of references, but that could make a nice, unusual model. So a great little YouTube channel. Most videos are between 10 and 15 minutes. And as you can see, there's lots of variety, something for everyone here. Next up is a Flickr page called Glory, the largest archive of German World War II images. What I like about this site, apart from the fact it has a good few thousand images, is that they're really nicely categorized. You can scroll through the photo stream like this if you want, but if you go to the top and go to albums, we have a few things you might expect. So we've got an album for Panzers, we've got an album for AFVs down here, but we've also got some slightly less common things like the German Women's Auxiliary Services, League of German Girls, all kinds of things, colour photos from life, and those are actually original colour photos, they're not recolorized images. The other side of war is quite interesting. It has a few examples here of sort of prisoners and so on. So something like this, for example, that could be interesting inspiration for a diorama. Nice building in the background there. Go back one more, back to the albums. Photos of 109s on the ground here, being recovered. North Africa by the looks of it, and so on. Including here, which is a 109 with RAF roundels, and in fact this has a little bit of information about this. Captured by the French, evaluated by the RAF and the US Air Force. You could definitely spend a lot of time here getting distracted by all the images, German motorcycles, all kinds of things on here. Let's have a quick look at the Panzer album. Again, as you would expect, we've got there tiger, another tiger, a few tigers here. So this is an interesting photo to me, showing what looks like a knocked out vehicle, but you can see the amount of mud and dirt that's collected on it, the sort of the camouflage, either netting or foliage that's been used. So it gives a good idea of how these vehicles might have operated and how they might have been used. You can also see that nice camo scheme on there as well. So overall, a great Flickr page, really worth checking out for inspiration. Okay, World War Photos. This is one of my favourite sites because it does a really good job of breaking things down into very small subcategories. So we start with countries. I've been building the French R35 recently, so let's have a look at France. Let's have a look at tanks. And we want the Renault R35, there it is. And I think 67 photos of the R35 is quite impressive, all in one place, without having to search through lots and lots of different resources to find them. I've got all kinds of things here. I've got French vehicles, or French marked vehicles should I say. But then also I've got versions which have obviously been captured and remarked. There is a German captured version. So this was really useful for me when I've been building the Tamiya kit recently. And in fact I often use images like this at the start of my videos just to give an idea of what we're actually aiming for. Again, that sort of standard chain that you seem to see on every AFV, well actually turns out that quite often they do have them. Okay, so let's go back and look at the German vehicles because there are many photos here of these. 10,000 photos and really well broken down. I mean, you've got a category here just for armoured trains. Let's have a look at that one. And even that's broken down into different types of armoured trains. Trumpeter do some kits for a lot of these, so it's useful reference material for those. Let's look at this one here in winter camo. Okay. And of course these are also available full version, so that's a fairly high resolution, but if we click on the full res, actually in that case it's not much higher. And if we go back to the German menu again, if we go down to even things like trucks, there are so many photos of trucks here, so many different categories of truck. Let's look here at the crop. Yeah. This is another Tamiya model I've been building recently. Some great reference material. And if you compare this with the searches you would do on Google, quite often if you search for a vehicle name you get a lot of models that come up as well, and that can be useful because it's quite good inspiration, but sometimes you want actual period photos. So definitely another website here that I could spend many hours on finding inspiration. Okay, next up is Tank Encyclopedia. This is quite a well-known site. It covers everything from World War I tanks all the way up to modern day. And what I like most about Tank Encyclopedia is that it has some great examples of colour schemes and markings. So for example, if we look at German tanks, and let's look at say, let's look at a Tiger 1. You'll find a huge amount of reference material here as well, including contemporary photos, testing photos. But the thing I like most about this site is if we scroll down to the bottom, there's quite a lot of information in this case on the Tiger 1. Huge number of archive photos there. But here, this is my favourite part of the site. For every tank they have a lot of different marking options. As you can see here, winter versions from Leningrad, 1943, Russia 1943 again, April 1943, loads of colour schemes. If you've got a model and you don't want to just paint it in a fairly standard colour scheme you've seen 100 times before, this is definitely worth visiting and having a look to see if you can find something that takes your fancy. And quite often as well they'll have some unusual variations of these tanks. So for example, this is the British Matilda page. We've got regular sort of European camouflage up here, we've got desert camouflage, the famous camouflage schemes here in the middle with variants. The Malta camouflage, which is quite well known. But also we've got some captured versions down here as well, so there's always something quite interesting here to help you create a very different model. And finally another Flickr page, and again one which is best viewed via the albums. The reason I like this page is because all the photographs are colour, and they're all original colour photographs as well. There's no recolorized photos here as far as I'm aware. The photos go up to the 50s and 60s. The ones I find most useful are World War II aircraft and also wartime Britain in colour. This has been quite inspiring for the RAM diorama, which I'm hoping to make fairly soon. So some great material here, everyday images. What's this? People picking flowers in fields. So really here a glimpse of life that we often don't see. Aircraft factory, this looks like fuel tanks for aircraft, I think. Look like they're being primed there. Petrol self-sealing tanks, yeah. There's a lot of paint on the overalls here. Yeah, so great little Flickr page. You could spend a lot of time looking at this and a lot of time exploring it. Okay guys, so that was 7 resources which I found really useful when looking for references. I hope you found them useful too. If you know of any similar sites which are useful for modelers, then please do leave a comment below. And before I go, it's time for me to thank my new patrons for this month. Thank you very much guys, your support is greatly appreciated. If you would like to support the channel via the Patreon scheme, you can find some details in the description below. And all income from the channel is fed back into the channel in the form of modelling products or kits which are used in videos. And as always, thank you for watching, and I hope to see you next time.